One little game I play with myself. One thing I think about from time to time is, what do I need to do to get my yard ready for the ultimate garden party? I call it the Garden Party Challenge. So the Garden Party Challenge. Just to be clear, there really is no Garden Party Challenge. No one's ever come over. I've got 2 dogs and I love them more than anything.
I love my wife more.
But I'm gonna have to deal with the urine spots on the lawn. We'll get to that later. The first thing is I gotta keep Grandma from tripping over this lip. These pavers have sunk down into the dirt over time and it's just a tripping hazard. So any garden party challenge needs to have basic safety in mind. I got some paver-based sand, a rubber mallet, and a trowel to pry the pavers up and took care of that tripping hazard. Garden party challenge step 1 completed. The next thing is I have to be able to have folks look out into the yard and not comment on how disgusting it is. This little muddy part of my yard where I built a small bridge out of cedar is a swale of sorts for the runoff that comes down the driveway. The water needs somewhere to go, and in a way this is very much like a mini creek bed. So a layer of river rock will clean this area up to meet the Garden Party Challenge. That looks much nicer. Next, we gotta get these weeds out of the pavers. My little dog Honey is gonna help me. This garden bed you're gonna hear more about later. I absolutely will never again use dyed mulch. Another thing that we simply cannot have is a gate that doesn't latch or one that doesn't look level. I built this custom fabricated steel gate myself a few years ago, and the hinges have simply bent a little bit so that it's a little fussy. You got to jiggle it to latch it. So I'm re-welding the hinges so that the whole gate is level and it closes smoothly. Welding is difficult and I'm not great at it, but using this shielded flux core stick welder, I've managed to make those hinges very firmly attached, and with a little paint, they look nice. I'm going to put a fresh layer of boiled linseed oil on these cedar boards that I've previously charred with a propane torch. So yeah, that job's done. Alright, another interesting aspect of my garden is that this here is sweetgrass, which has a wonderful vanilla smell. You may have heard of sweetgrass as it's an important sacred plant in Native American communities. Before it's picked and braided, an offering of tobacco is traditionally given to Mother Earth, and I think this is a very cool symbolic idea. Here you're going to see those urine spots from the dogs. I planted this here mini clover, which is dog urine resistant, on those spots. And then that will make the grass a bit greener and be more resistant to their urine in the future. I got myself a stump anvil, and a friend had a small stump of the right size for my anvil. And so I'm going to put this in the backyard in my utility area and put that anvil right into the top of that stump. I cored a big hole for the spike on the bottom of the anvil, and there it is. Now I want to make sure all my firewood is cut and neatly stacked, and that my fireplace is ready for the garden party. I'll clean out my wood storage also. Now there is a chance that someone may be curious about what is in the garage, so I've got to do some tool maintenance. To get started, I'm going to plasti dip a few tool handles. Now we inherited these chairs with the house, and they are falling apart. And one thing that cannot happen at the garden party in order to win the garden party challenge is to have Grandpa fall through the back of the chair. So I'm going to try and fix these. It's not an easy job. Ultimately, I get some cedar board and roundovers to create new slats for the back, and then I glue them into place. By the way, there is no garden party challenge. This is just a story that I tell myself to motivate me to keep up on the maintenance of the house. No one's ever come over. All right, that job's done. Now I know this is extremely controversial because I'm putting asphalt on top of concrete. But again, I can't have anybody trip on this divot, and I can't afford to redo the whole driveway. So I'm taking this relatively affordable bag of pre-mixed asphalt just so that I don't get a big pooling of water in this space where the concrete has literally fallen into the earth. This is actually holding up really well. Now any gardener worth their salt has to have a handmade willow obelisk from willow that they grew from scratch and hand steamed. So that's what I'm doing here. I wove this obelisk and used it to grow pumpkins. Went around one more time. I only got one pumpkin, but it grew nicely hanging off the vine using this obelisk as a support structure. I don't know what the strict criteria are for the garden party challenge, but you can't just have a normal, nice backyard. You have to have a few features of distinction. And in my case, I've got a handcrafted steel and cedar mini gate with a window for my little dog. It has Japanese-style carbonized cedar boards, a matte black paint finish, stainless steel screws, and that little viewport window for her cute little face to peek out. Adorable. Just keep your hands and face away from her teeth. I also made an earth plaster fire pit and cob oven. It's simply sand and clay over a steel subframe. It has some air inlets for increased efficiency. Now, I can't let my old wheelbarrow be a total disgrace, but I've got to at least do a custom weld so that it works and that I don't have to buy a new one. Next, my fence has a gap that I need to fix so my dogs don't squeeze out. I'm handy and I'm thrifty. I use steel rebar and scrap wood to make an attractive and functional fence piece that works with the slope of my yard, the size of my dog, and the apple tree I'm pruning to bear fruit right on this here fence. Bam! The centerpiece of my yard is my earthen oven, where I bake all sorts of delicious treats. I love to create a cozy, warm environment on cool days. And call me nuts, but I love drying wood. It's just so fun to experience the aroma and sweet-ass spark from artisanal wood. Now remember that brown dyed mulch that I swore off? Well, I worked on that area of the garden and I thought I'd do a little mini fountain. Because any garden party needs a water feature. I planted a Japanese maple, a thornless blackberry bush, herbs, an evergreen in a container. I made a small section of rebar fence, hand bent and welded with ball bearings, and treated with a nice finish of beeswax. I put down some decorative stone, a stone walkway, and built a miniature platform for my dogs out of cedar. Well, I hope you enjoyed this walk down memory lane with my outdoor projects and my made-up challenge, the Garden Party Challenge, where everyone's invited but no one comes over. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.